morning, everybody, and welcome to my kitchen. I'm going to make my breakfast now because, well, I just woke up and I'm hungry. So what I'm going to show you today isn't necessarily a breakfast food. There have been a big upsurge in the popularity of sushi here in the United States. And I know that a lot of people aren't too cool with the whole raw fish thing, but there's a lot of people who really enjoy the cooked versions of sushi. And so what I'm going to show you how to make today is something that I get requested for a lot. And it's Tamagoyaki, which is the little piece of egg that you see. It's usually in a rectangular shape and it sits on top of rice and you can eat it. But you also don't have to eat it with the rice, you can eat it all by itself. So I'm going to show you how to make that today. And so in order to get that rectangular shape, you need a rectangular pan. Rectangular pan is not necessary, but here you see I'm going to use one to make the traditional version. You'll need eggs, of course, and I have 4 eggs in here in a mixing bowl. You're going to need some mirin, which is Japanese sweet cooking wine. You see I've got mine soaking in hot water right now because all the sugar is stuck on the bottom and I want to be able to dissolve it back out. Looks like it's dissolving pretty well. And you'll need a tablespoon of that. You'll also need a dash of salt. People say like a 1/4 tablespoon or a 1/4 teaspoon, but I just shake it in there. You'll also need some dashi stock, and here I have it in a little container. I'll give you a closer look of it later, but I've got it in a little container, and basically it's like, so you know you have beef bouillon or chicken bouillon, it's basically fish bouillon. You'll need some soy sauce, you'll need 1/2 cup of water, and you'll need some vegetable oil. And I've taken the vegetable oil and put it in a little bowl, and I have a little brush, and I'll show you what that's for in a minute. So, we can get started, and I hope you'll be able to follow along and eventually make your own tamagoyaki. Okay, so first things first, we have to get the egg out of the eggshell. And if you'll notice here, I'm not cracking the egg on the edge of the bowl, and the reason for that is because when you crack it on the edge of a bowl, you have a tendency to cause the eggshell to go inside the egg, and it's more difficult to separate the eggshell from the egg. So I always crack it on a flat surface. And I'm just going to mix it and then add the salt. And here you see the water, and this is the dashi. You see it's in little granules. And I'm just going to add the dashi to the water. The recipes usually call for a 1/4 teaspoon, but I really like dashi, so I add a little bit more. And then I just mix it in with the water, and I pour it in with the egg. I actually like dashi so much that I even use it when I'm cooking non-Japanese foods. Then I'm just going to add some soy sauce and some mirin, as you can see here. Usually I don't measure any of this stuff, I just kind of pour it in, but for the sake of this video I did some amount of measuring. So now we can start cooking, and I'll take that brush that I mentioned to you earlier and evenly spread oil around the edges of the pan and the bottom of the pan. And you don't have to use a brush, you can use a folded up paper towel if you don't have a brush around. Then you're just going to add a little bit of the egg mixture and spread it around so that it's an even coating on the bottom of the pan. And you see me moving the pan around, and that's because with an electric stove you have a tendency to have hot spots. So I'm just trying to get this egg to cook evenly. And as you can see, the egg starts to bubble up when it's cooked. And when it bubbles up like that, that means it's ready to turn. So here you see I'm going to start to fold it over into a roll. Don't worry if your first roll doesn't look very nice, because this is just the inside layer. This is just the beginning, and you're going to cover it with more and more layers after this, so the first one doesn't have to look perfect. So then you just push it over to the side, and then you're going to oil the pan again, and basically you're going to repeat the same steps. You're going to oil it, and then you're going to add some batter. And every time you add batter, make sure that, as you can see that I'm about to do, make sure the batter goes underneath the roll that you've already made so that everything sticks together nicely. And you'll repeat this as many times as you want till you reach the size of the egg roll that you want, or until you have no more egg mixture left. So here you can see that it actually gets a lot easier as you go along. So this one I'm just going to fold over. I like to use the chopsticks because the chopsticks are a little bit gentler on the egg than other utensils that you can use. So I just find it easier to use because I don't break the egg as often, but you can also use a spatula or whatever utensil of your choice. So here you see I'm just repeating the process again. Add the batter, make sure it goes under the roll, and let it cook evenly. So for my final run of cooking the egg, for the very last roll that I make, I like to cook it a little bit longer so you can see this nice browning effect that you get, and it also makes it easier to turn. Also, if you have trouble turning the egg, if your layers break a lot, then maybe you need to add a little bit more batter, because if your layers are too thin, your egg will break a lot easier. So I'm just going to let this sit in the corner for a second while I go grab my plate so that it can sear the ends together and everything will stay together nicely. And then I just turn it out into a plate, and then I set it on a cutting board, and I cut it into slices. And for breakfast I'm actually going to eat the slices all by themselves, but I'll show you real quick how you make tamago sushi. So you have your tamago slice, and you have a little finger of rice that you mold together, just in a little finger shape. And then you take some nori, and you wrap it around, and now you have your tamago sushi. Well, I'm officially hungry now, so until next time, enjoy.